Hi guys, welcome to this video. So in this video, we proceed by looking at Unit 3 of cybersecurity. So under Unit 3, we are going to look at computer security architecture. So under Unit 3 of computer security, we are going to look at computer security architecture. And when you talk of computer security architecture, it is a structured approach to designing and implementing security measures to protect computing infrastructure, system, data from various threats and vulnerability. It encompasses the identification of threats, analysis of consequences, establishment of security levels, and the creation of security zones. So the main purpose of security or computer security threats is to identify the threats, to analyze the consequences, and establish security level. So we'll begin by looking at some of the computer security architecture and their key components. So here we'll start by looking at some of the computer security architecture and its key components. So where we shall look at threats and vulnerability to computing infrastructure. So we shall look at threats and vulnerability to computing infrastructure. So under this component here, we are saying threats. So the first point is threats. So under threats, these are potential dangers to the computing infrastructure, common threats. So the threats are the potential dangers to computing infrastructure. So these common threats can include the malware. So when you talk of the malware, software designed to disrupt, damage, or gain unauthorized access to computer systems. So these are software designed to disrupt, damage, or gain unauthorized access to computer system. And then we also have another aspect of threats, which is phishing. So another threat is phishing. So now when you talk of phishing, this deceptive will attempt to trick users into revealing sensitive information like password or financial data. So this mostly focuses on the deceptive attempt to trick users into revealing sensitive information like the password, where you're able to deflect your password from these threats. So that is the bad part of the phishing. And then there is also another threat, which is denial of service, which is DOS. So another threat is denial of service, which is DOS. Now, when you look at denial of service attack, which is DOS, this one works on overwhelming a system network. So it's mainly overwhelms a system or a network to make it invulnerable to legitimate users. That's the bad part of the DOS. And then we also have the insider threats. Now, when you talk of the insider threats here, this mainly focuses on, this is just malicious action or negligence by unauthorized users. So the negligence by unauthorized users result into, this is like an insider threats, like whereby somebody that works inside somebody that operates a system, they're able to share the information which is not supposed to be shared. So this comes as a result of the negligence of the insider. And then we also have the data breach. So the data breach. Now, when you talk of the data breach, this is where unauthorized access or disclosure of sensitive data. So the disclosure of sensitive data results into data breach. Okay. And then apart from that, remember we are looking at the computer security threats. We're looking at the computer security threats. So we have talked about the threats and each type. So we started by looking at the malware, and then we talked about the phishing, we talked about the denial of services attack, and then the insider threats, and later on we proceeded by talking about the data breach. So let us also proceed by talking about the vulnerability. Now, when you talk of the vulnerability, so the vulnerability is, emphasize on the weakness in the system. So vulnerability emphasize on the weakness in the system or network that can be exploited by threats. So vulnerability can arise from, so the vulnerability of a system can arise from software bugs. Software bugs. So when you talk of software bugs, these are coding error that can be exploited by the attacker. So if in the codings there are errors, this can be exploited by the attacker. So vulnerability can come as a result of software bugs. So the bugs comes, these are coding errors which can be exploited by the attacker, which these are the hackers. And then we also have the aspect of misfigured system. Now, when you talk of the aspect of misfigured system, so here it's mainly emphasized on adequate security settings or permissions. So this one it's just mainly focuses on misfigured system, which is inadequate security settings or permissions. And then there is also another vulnerability, which is weak authentication. So if there is weak authentication, the system will be vulnerable. So weak authentication, which mainly emphasize on poorly chosen password or lacks authentication. So if the password is weak, meaning it will be easily accessed by the hackers and which can actually affect the system. So that's how it works. And then we also have another factor. Which is factor number 2, which is consequence analysis. So we also have another factor, which is consequence analysis. So the consequence analysis mainly emphasizes and focuses on the consequence analysis involves assessing the potential impact of security incident and breaches. So on the consequence analysis here, the main focus is assessing the potential impact of security incident and breaches. It helps prioritize security measures and responses. Apart from that, there is also a consequence that can include financial losses, reputation damage, legal consequences, data loss, and operational disruptions. And then there's also an aspect of risk assessment, which is also very much important. Risk assessment and impact analysis are crucial for understanding the severity of potential threats. And then we also have an aspect of security level and multi-level security. So now this point of security level and multi-level security, it mainly focuses on the security level categories information or system based on their sensitive and the level of protection required. So like, yeah. And then we also have their common security levels. So there are common security levels which include the unclassified. So when you talk of unclassified, so we're talking of public information with no sensitive data. And then there's also confidential. So now when you talk of confidential, these are sensitive information, not for public disclosure. And then we also have the aspect of security. Now, on the aspect of secret here, the emphasis is on the high sensitive information required strict access control. So the sensitive information which requires strict control, which cannot be disclosed to the public, which can also be malicious as if you disclose to the public, and it can affect the growth and the outcome of everything. So and so on and so forth. So that's how it definitely operates. And then we also have the aspect of the top secret, which is extremely sensitive, critical to national security, and subject to high protection measures. So there are certain also information that cannot be just disclosed anyhow, because if this information is shared or disclosed, it can affect the security of the nation, and that can actually give the easy way go out from these other attackers that may want to breach the national security. So these are top security. And then there's also an aspect of multi-level security, which refers to the consistency of different security level within a single system and the network. This ensures that data at a high security level is not compromised by data at a lower level. So we also have an aspect of techniques that includes mandatory access control with MAC, and the discretionary access control, which is DAC. And then we also have another point on the computer security threats, which is security zones. So we also have security zones. Now, on the aspect of the security zones, here we mainly emphasize on the security zones, which is divide a network or system into segments based on the trust levels and access control. And then apart from that, we also have an aspect of common security zones, which includes demilitarized zones. And then we also have a buffer zones between a trusted internal network and an untrusted external zone network, which is typically the internet. And then we remember talking about the security zones, and then we also have internal network where sensitive data and critical system resides with restricted access. And then also we have the guest network for visitors or less trusted devices isolated from the internal network. Apart from that, we also have an aspect of security administrative zone, restricted area for system administrators and privileged users. Nevertheless, in addition to, there is also an aspect of access control, and security measures are implemented differently differently. These are implemented differently in each zone, okay, with the goal of preventing lateral movement of threats and containing potential breaches. So these are the security zones, and then we also have an aspect of a security architecture component. So we also have an aspect of security architecture components. Now, when you talk of security architecture components, these are emphasized mostly on the firewalls. So now, when you talk of the firewalls, they protect barriers that filter incoming and outgoing network traffic. Okay, so they protect the barriers that filters incoming and outgoing network traffics. And then we also have the intrusion detection system, which is IDS. And then we have intrusion prevention system, which is IPS. And we also have monitor and block suspicious network activities. And then apart from that, we also have antivirus and malware software. These scans for and remove malicious software. Example, if you actually embed or you insert a flash onto a laptop, the antivirus will be able to detect if there are Trojan viruses or malware that can actually affect the system. So it will detect and scan the flash to make sure that all the antivirus are removed completely. Then we also have an aspect of encryption, protecting data in transit and rest. So there's an aspect of protecting data in transit. So when you talk of the aspect of encryption, this is whereby you are converting the data into unreadable ciphertext. And in order to see the data, there must be an appropriate key which has to be instilled. There must be an appropriate key that has to be instilled in order to see the data. So it is very much important. And remember, we are talking about security architecture components, which are very much important in the security architecture component. And then apart from that, we have the aspect of access control system, which regulates user access to resources based on authentication and authorization. So the access control system regulates, it controls access to the resources. So these controls access to the resources, which is based on the authentication. Now, when you talk of the authentication, the access control depends on the authentication because the user may also require to enter a password, and they also may enter a name. Now, on the aspect of authorization, this is the situation whereby the system decide whether to allow you and access the system or not. Okay, and that's how it works. And then we also have security information and event management, collect and analyze security-related data to detect and respond to threats. So apart from that, we also have an aspect of patch management, ensures that systems are up to date with security patches. incident responses plans, guideline for responding to security incidents, and so on and so forth. So these are very much important on the aspect of the computer security threats. And then in conclusion, we are saying that computer security architecture is a systematic approach for safeguarding computer infrastructure against a wide range of threats and vulnerability. By analyzing potential consequences, defining security levels and threats, creating security zones, organizing can build resilient security system that protect sensitive data and maintain the integrity and availability of critical resources. Therefore, in addition to, we are saying that network security is a practice of protecting computer networks and their associated devices and data from unauthorized access, attacks, and breaches. It also involves various technologies, policies, and practice to ensure the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of network resources. So it is very much important that you consider these computer security architecture. Wish you all the best. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and make sure you also watch the next video. And where you have a question, always drop it in the comment section. Wish you all the best, and that's Just Like University. We believe in quality education. All the best, guys. Thank you very much. Okay.